The summer rain fell softly over the city, tapping on the windows of Lena's apartment as she packed the last of her grandmother's belongings into cardboard boxes. The old house had been sold, too large, too empty, too full of memories Lena wasn't ready to face. Her grandmother, Evelyn Rose Whitaker, had been everything to her. A quiet woman, always surrounded by her garden and her books, with an air of mystery that Lena had admired even as a child. Now, standing in the attic surrounded by dust and forgotten things, Lena sighed and wiped her hands on her jeans. Her gaze fell upon an old leather trunk in the corner, something she had somehow overlooked in the weeks since Evelyn's passing. Curiosity tugged at her. She pulled it toward her, coughing at the dust cloud it released, and opened the lid. Inside were dozens of faded photographs, neatly tied in bundles with silk ribbons. But it wasn't the photos that first caught her attention. It was the album. Thick, bound in black leather with gilded edges, it had her grandmother's initials pressed into the cover, ERW. Lena sat down on the wooden floor, her heart pounding for reasons she couldn't explain. She opened the first page. Inside were photographs from the 1940s and 50s, images of elegant women in dresses, men in sharp suits, street scenes frozen in time. Some were familiar, her grandmother as a young woman, standing by her garden, laughing with friends. But then she turned to the third page, and everything changed. There he was. A man with striking features, dark hair neatly combed, sharp jawline, intense eyes that seemed to look straight at her. He stood beside Evelyn, his arm wrapped around her waist, smiling slightly. There was something timeless about him, something almost unsettling in his gaze. Lena's fingers brushed over the photo, a chill crawling up her spine. She flipped through more pages. He appeared again and again. In every decade. 1954, 1955, 1956, 1957. Always the same man. Never older. Never changing. Her grandmother aged slowly, gracefully in each photograph. But he remained exactly the same. Lena's breath quickened. This wasn't possible. It had to be some mistake, an ancestor, perhaps, or an old family friend. But in every photo, the man stood beside Evelyn, always close, always watching her with quiet intensity. At the back of the album, tucked between the last pages, Lena found an envelope. Inside was a note, written in her grandmother's elegant, familiar handwriting. If you've found this, then it means you've begun to remember. There are things you must learn. Secrets I could not share before. Find him. His name is Gabriel Hart. He is waiting for you. Lena's hands shook as she read the words again and again. She glanced back at the photos, the man's face unchanged across the decades. Gabriel Hart. Waiting for her? She didn't know why, but her heart ached with something too deep, too strange to understand. The rain outside grew heavier, drumming against the windows. And in that attic, surrounded by ghosts of the past, Lena felt a story beginning to unfold. Lena could hardly sleep that night. The images from the photo album haunted her, her grandmother's soft smile, the man's unwavering gaze, and that strange note that seemed to pull her deeper into something she couldn't yet name. Find him. He is waiting for you. Gabriel Hart. The name echoed in her mind, repeating through every corner of her thoughts. By morning, Lena sat at her kitchen table, her laptop open, a steaming cup of coffee growing cold beside her. She typed the name slowly into the search bar. There was surprisingly little. A few scattered mentions in old newspaper archives. A man named Gabriel Hart had once been a well-known photographer in the 1950s, with several exhibitions across Europe and America. His photographs had been described as hauntingly beautiful, portraits that seemed to capture more than just a face. But after 1978, the trail went cold. No death records, no addresses, no sign of where he had gone. It was as if he had simply vanished. Frustrated but determined, Lena decided to visit the one place that seemed connected to it all, her grandmother's favorite park, the one featured in several of the photos. The park sat on the edge of the city, quiet and almost forgotten, its iron gates rusted and its paths lined with old trees. It had been Evelyn's sanctuary, a place she had brought Lena to as a child, always telling her stories about the hidden souls that lived there. Lena walked slowly along the winding paths, her breath catching at the familiarity of it all. Then she saw it. A small, ivy-covered building near the center of the park, once an old photo studio, now seemingly abandoned. The door stood ajar. Drawn by something she couldn't explain, Lena pushed it open and stepped inside. Dust hung thick in the air, and the faint scent of old paper and chemicals lingered. Framed photographs lined the walls, their subjects faded, but still strangely alive. And then she saw him. A man stood near the window, his back turned to her, his figure tall and composed. Her heart pounded. "Hello," she called softly. The man turned slowly. Her breath caught. It was him, Gabriel Hart, exactly as he appeared in the photographs. Not aged a day. The same piercing eyes, the same calm presence. He looked at her as if he'd been expecting her. "You found the album," he said quietly, his voice smooth and deep, carrying the weight of years. Lena's knees nearly gave out. This isn't possible," she stammered. You were with my grandmother. Decades ago." He gave a soft, sad smile. "I was with her," he said. "And now I am here for you." Her pulse raced as she struggled to process what she was hearing. "I don't understand," she whispered. "What are you?" Gabriel's gaze remained steady. "Not everything can be explained," he replied gently. "But you already feel it, don't you? That pull inside you." Lena's eyes widened. Because she had felt it. The strange ache in her chest when she first saw the photos. The way his face seemed both unfamiliar and painfully familiar. Tears welled in her eyes. "Why me?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Gabriel stepped closer, his presence calm and magnetic. "Because the story is not finished," he said softly. "And some stories never truly end." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small silver pendant, a twin to the one in her grandmother's photos. He placed it gently in her hand. The moment her fingers closed around it, a flood of warmth and memory surged through her. Images, flashes of laughter, whispers under moonlit skies, hands entwined in secret places. Her heart ached with sudden, overwhelming emotion. She gasped, tears streaming down her cheeks. What is this?" she cried. Gabriel's voice was soft, filled with sorrow. "It's what was lost," he whispered, "and what you must now remember." The pendant burned softly in Lena's palm, its weight growing heavier with every heartbeat. She could hardly breathe, her mind spinning with fragmented images that didn't feel like her own, yet they stirred something deep within her chest. She stared at Gabriel, her voice barely a whisper. "What did you do to me?" Gabriel's eyes remained calm, steady, patient. "I did nothing," he said gently. "But you're beginning to remember what's already yours." Lena's head shook, though her body felt strangely rooted to the floor. "These memories, they aren't mine," she insisted. But even as she said the words, the scenes behind her eyelids grew clearer. A garden bathed in soft golden light. A hidden bench under flowering trees. Laughter. A kiss. She gasped, her knees finally giving way. Gabriel moved instantly, catching her before she could fall, guiding her gently to sit in an old velvet chair by the window. His touch was warm but unnervingly steady, as though he existed in a space untouched by time. Lena's breath came in shallow waves. "I'm losing my mind," she whispered, clutching the pendant tightly. "No," Gabriel said softly. "You're remembering a life your soul has always carried." Her heart pounded in her chest. "My grandmother?" she asked. Gabriel gave a small, sorrowful nod. "Yes, you were Evelyn." The words hung heavy between them. Lena's entire body went cold. "That's not possible," she breathed. "It is," Gabriel replied, his voice filled with certainty but no urgency. He was calm, as though he had spoken these words many times before. "You loved me once," he continued, his eyes holding hers firmly, across another life. Lena's hands shook violently, but she couldn't let go of the pendant. It felt fused to her skin, its warmth now spreading through her chest like fire. "I'm not her," she whispered, her voice breaking. Gabriel's expression softened. "No, not entirely," he said gently. "You are yourself, but you are also her. You carry her heart, her memories, her unfinished story." Tears spilled from her eyes as she tried to comprehend the impossible truth. "How are you still here?" she asked, her voice trembling. Gabriel looked away, his gaze distant, as if seeing something far beyond the room's walls. "Because I chose to wait," he said softly. "I was given a choice, a gift, or a curse, depending on how one sees it. I could stay in this world until the one I loved returned." "And you stayed?" she asked, stunned. "For her," Gabriel whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "For you." Silence filled the room, heavy but tender. Lena's mind raced, trying to reconcile everything: her grandmother's quiet life, the photographs, the pull she had felt toward this place, this man. "I don't remember everything," she admitted softly, staring at the pendant glowing faintly in her hand. "You don't have to," Gabriel said, leaning forward, his voice now gentle as a breeze. "Not yet." He reached out and, with great care, closed her hand over the pendant. "But you must choose," he continued. "Choose." Lena's voice was barely audible. Gabriel's eyes glowed with sadness, but also hope. "To remember fully," he said. "To embrace what once was and what could be again." Lena's heart pounded harder. "And if I don't?" He gave a soft, bittersweet smile. "Then I will wait," he said simply, without anger, without pressure. "Until you return, however long it takes." Lena's breath caught in her throat. She felt the weight of lifetimes pressing down upon her. The pendant pulsed softly in her hand. A choice. An impossible choice. And somewhere, deep within her heart, a voice whispered, not from Gabriel, not from her grandmother, but from within herself. "We are never truly lost." The air inside the studio seemed to shift, growing warmer, thicker, as if time itself was holding its breath. Lena sat frozen, her fingers wrapped tightly around the pendant, her pulse pounding in her ears. Outside, the sky was beginning to darken, casting soft shadows through the dusty window panes. Gabriel remained silent, watching her with a patience that felt infinite, as though he had already accepted whatever choice she might make. Lena's mind spun wildly. Part of her wanted to run, to escape the overwhelming truth pressing against her chest. But another part, the deeper part, felt something else entirely. Peace. Belonging. She had always felt out of place in her life, like something was missing, something she couldn't name. And now, as impossible as it seemed, she knew why. This was the missing piece. She looked at Gabriel, her eyes still glassy with tears. "What happens if I say yes?" she asked softly. Gabriel's voice was steady, gentle. "You will remember everything," he said. "Every moment, every joy, every sorrow, the love we shared, the loss we endured." Lena's breath shuddered. "And we'll be together," she whispered. He nodded once. "If that is your wish." A long, heavy silence settled between them, filled with all the unsaid words of past lives. Lena stared down at the pendant. The warmth it radiated now felt familiar, comforting, like an old friend guiding her home. She knew the truth. She had already decided. With trembling hands, she placed the pendant around her neck. The moment the clasp closed, a surge of heat rushed through her chest, spreading through every part of her body. Her heart pounded hard, but there was no pain. Only memory. Scenes flooded her mind, not as images, but as vivid, living experiences. She was Evelyn again. She remembered the first time she had met Gabriel, under soft lantern light at a summer festival, his camera slung around his neck, his smile shy but magnetic. She remembered their stolen nights in the park, sitting beneath the stars as he photographed her, whispering dreams of a life they'd run away to together. She remembered their love, deep, fierce, unwavering. And she remembered the night it all slipped away. A storm. a separation they hadn't chosen. Her heart breaking as she waited for him to return, but he never did. Until now. Lena gasped aloud, tears falling freely down her cheeks, her chest aching with the weight of both heartbreak and relief. Gabriel was at her side instantly, his hands gentle, steady, grounding. "Breathe," he whispered softly. And she did. When the memory settled, Lena looked up at him, her eyes now carrying the weight of 2 lives. "I remember everything," she said, her voice thick with emotion. Gabriel's eyes shone with quiet wonder, his face softening into a smile that was both familiar and brand new. "Then you know," he said softly. "I never stopped waiting." Lena's lips trembled, but this time she smiled through her tears. "And I finally found my way back." Without hesitation, she reached for him, her hands cupping his face. Their kiss was tender at first, slow, hesitant. Then it deepened, filled with all the years they had lost, all the longing they had carried, and all the love that had never faded. Time unraveled around them. The studio seemed to melt away. The air was no longer heavy, but light and full of warmth. When they finally pulled apart, Gabriel's forehead rested against hers, his breath steady, his voice barely a whisper. "You came back," he said. She smiled, her heart full. "I always do." Outside, the first stars began to appear in the evening sky. Somewhere far away, a clock chimed softly. Inside the quiet studio, 2 souls who had waited lifetimes for this moment finally found peace. Together.